So I don't know about you, but I find choosing between the Herman Miller Aeron and Embody to be an agonising decision. I spent months reading reviews, watching YouTube videos, trying to decide between these two outstanding chairs. And given that this channel is brand new to YouTube and it doesn't benefit from the algorithmic magic, I expect you've probably spent a lot of time watching comparison videos too. So for me, I finally ordered a brand new Aeron Remastered about a month ago, and I figured that would be like the last chair I'd ever need to buy, or at least not for 12 years or so. But a month into the Aeron, I actually ended up returning it and purchasing the Embody that I'm sat in here today. So I figured, if I'm going to be spending £1,000 sterling plus on a chair, I'd better be pretty darn confident about it. This video includes my initial thoughts on the Embody, having sat in it for around 60 hours, or around a week. If you're in the market for either the Embody or the Aeron, you've probably come to the right place. I'll go quite deep on what I consider to be the most important differences between the Aeron and Embody. This is not a full review, and there are tons of those out there on the internet already. Let's go. Okay, let's talk about specs. Now, the short answer here is both chairs were fully loaded, but in terms of detail, it's the standard Embody, so not the Logitech gaming version that was released in 2020. I have the black balance fabric, which to me feels pretty soft and breathable, really like it. I have the fully adjustable armrests on the Embody, so they go up and down and left and right, and that's about it really. I have the polished aluminium base, which doesn't really make a material difference, but I think looks pretty sharp. The chair was manufactured in 2018 and it is pre-owned, so maybe that would explain some of the creaks and groans that I'll talk about a little bit later. So it does not have the additional foam that I have heard was added to newer Embody chairs circa 2021. It doesn't have that extra foam. In terms of the Aeron Remastered that I returned recently, well, that was fully loaded as well. Fully adjustable armrests in leather, which I have to say are godlike. Super armrests, best I've ever used. The chair had the forward tilt. It was size C, which for me, being 6'1", I found to be optimal. If you're 6'1", get the size C, would be my recommendation. I also bought an Atlas headrest with the Aeron, and I have to say that was fantastic, super comfortable, fantastic for leaning back and reclining. In terms of my specs, as I said, I'm 6'1", which is about 185 centimeters. I'm 80 kilograms or 176 pounds. I work 8 to 10 hours a day in my office chair, and accept that my mostly sedentary lifestyle contributes to me often having a sore back. And particularly now I'm in my mid-30s, that is the case. That's why I'm super fussy when it comes to chairs. No chair can fix not exercising. Alright, let's talk about build quality. The Aeron Remastered is almost silent. Even when I'm doing some serious rocking, all components seemed super robust on that chair. The leather, padded, polished aluminium armrests seemed super tough, and I had no concerns whatsoever about putting my full body weight on them when getting up out of the chair or adjusting my posture. The Embody is clearly a high-end chair, but the creaking noises when moving around in it does, in my opinion, detract from that overall premium experience. The noise makes me question whether the Embody really is going to last 12 years, particularly when I look at how plasticky components like the armrests are. In terms of build quality, the Aeron Remastered is the clear winner for me over the Embody, at least the standard version of the Embody. Let's talk a little bit more about armrests. The leather padded Aeron Remastered armrests are super soft and well worth the extra money in my opinion. It isn't just about the feeling of those armrests. They are also more functional than the armrests found on the Embody. They swivel up and down, back and forth, all while allowing micro adjustments rather than those fixed notches you get on the Embody. I can only move it to a certain height if I'm trying to move it up and down, those armrests, whereas the Aeron, because you can basically unhook it and move it up and down, it's kind of infinitely adjustable within a certain range. I can also tuck the Aeron right in close to my desk because I can move the armrests back, unlike the Embody. And finally, as other YouTubers have pointed out, the Embody armrests are just horrible to adjust from side to side. You can hear them here, right? That doesn't sound good, and I'll put a video in the B-roll to underline that. So in terms of armrests, you guessed it, the Aeron Remastered is the clear winner for me, at least when comparing the fully adjustable models. So if you've reached this point in the video, you're probably wondering why on earth I moved away from the Aeron to the Embody, and we will get to that reason, but not quite yet. First, we're going to talk about recline and rocking motion. Now, Herman Miller state that compared to upright postures where the effects of gravity on the spine are most pronounced, reclining effectively reduces the compression on the discs in your spine, and for me this sounds spot on. My back definitely feels more comfortable when I frequently recline. So if reclining is so important, how do the Aeron and Embody compare in this regard? Well, the Aeron chair introduced what Herman Miller called a cinemat tilt when it was introduced originally back in '94. I believe it was refined in the remastered chair. What I can say is that, my goodness, the recline feels good in the Aeron Remastered. When I had that Aeron, I would recline almost constantly when performing a listening task, such as when not actively speaking or taking notes in a meeting. This has to be a good thing, in my opinion, if reclining does indeed reduce spinal compression. Now, in terms of the Embody, the tilt of the Embody builds on those innovations, at least that's what Herman Miller say. They say they build on the innovations in the Cinemat and I think other Herman Miller tilt technology. Now, the Embody tilt, the recline, yeah, it does feel nice, but just not quite as silky smooth as the Aeron, it must be said. It is quite noisy for a start by comparison, and that's where that kind of creakiness comes in. I don't know if you can hear it on there, but as I lean back, I can hear the chair creaking. There's no getting away from that. Now, if I didn't have the Aeron side by side to compare it to, as I did last week, I would probably be sat here saying that the Embody recline is unbeatable. It does feel really, really nice compared to prior chairs that I have tried, including the Secret Lab Titan, for example. But given that this is a Aeron versus Embody video, I have to give this category to the Aeron Remastered. You just have to try it for yourself to believe just how premium that recline rocking motion feels in that chair. And that brings us finally to the reason that I returned my Aeron and I'm currently sat in this Embody chair here today. And yes, it is of course the back support. Now, to be fair to the Aeron, I did find that it was comfortable in some ways. It supported my tailbone more comfortably than the Embody. I had no pain there whatsoever across the few weeks I used that chair. In terms of the lumbar support in the Aeron, the PostureFit SL is, in my opinion, okay. I found it most comfortable in the most dialed back position, which does still place some pressure on your lumbar area. The upper back or thoracic support is where the issue actually lies for me personally. Now, the Aeron Remastered, as you may know, in total has 8 different tension zones in the mesh. Herman Miller call those zones the 8Z pellicle. So there are 4 of these zones on the back of the chair, and there are 4 of those zones on the seat pan. Now, in terms of the levels of firmness across those tension zones, there are 3 different types. There's support, stabilize, and soften. Those are the sort of categories Herman Miller used for those tension zones. And the upper back zone or thoracic zone actually uses the soften firmness. And I didn't find that to be particularly supportive for my upper back. I found that after a few hours in the Aeron, my upper back would start to be fatigued and I'd need to get out of the chair. Now you could argue that's probably a good thing for me to get up and out of the chair anyway, but when I'm at work that was sometimes a bit of an issue when I had to join multiple back-to-back meetings. So given that the pedicle mesh zones are not adjustable, it is mesh after all, I tried adjusting the lumbar support, so the Posture Fit SL, to sort of compensate for that without any success, unfortunately. So maybe I've just got this super weird spinal curvature that means that the Aeron doesn't quite work for me, but it is that the combination of the Posture Fit SL and the soft upper back support that's led me to return the Aeron. I just couldn't quite figure out that combination. So what's so great about the Embody? Despite it feeling, I would say, very surprisingly firm, I feel as though in the Embody my entire back is supported in the chair. As long as I've got the back fit configured correctly, the chair really does sort of hug both your upper back and provide that lumbar support as well. Now, although the upper and lumbar support cannot be adjusted independently, I found it preferable to the Aeron's Posture Fit SL plus that soft pedicle mesh zone that I mentioned. Now, I'm a guy that really likes to sort of push up against the back of my chair, and the Embody responds really well to my movement, perhaps uniquely, particularly when compared to the Aeron that has that static, hard plastic frame. One other thing worth mentioning is the slim back support profile is fantastic for stretching, something I didn't really appreciate until I'd actually sat in the chair for a couple of days. Overall, the Aeron definitely, to me, feels more comfortable and forgiving when I first get in the chair. You get that sort of feeling when you first sit down that you don't really get in the Embody. But I need a chair that's going to reduce pain over long stretches of time. I'm talking 8 to 10 hour sessions, and having sat in the Embody for around 60 hours so far, it seems to be the chair that helps me achieve that, despite the various flaws that I've mentioned in this video. So let's talk about headrests. Personally, I don't really buy the idea that a good ergonomic chair shouldn't need a headrest. We've talked about the benefits of reclining, and I feel that the chair should support my head and my neck if I want to recline. As I mentioned, I fell in love with the Atlas headrest for the Aeron. If you're an Aeron lover and you like to recline, I would 100% recommend the Atlas headrest. It's a fantastic bit of kit, and I was a bit grumpy about having to send it back, to be honest. Now, with the Embody, there don't seem to be any third-party headrests for it, and Herman Miller don't provide one themselves, so I am eagerly anticipating the release of the Atlas headrest for the Embody, which I believe is going to happen next year. I haven't missed having a headrest as much as I expected to, but nonetheless I'm looking forward to that because I do like to recline in whatever chair I'm sitting in. Now, to summarise, both chairs, both the Aeron Remastered and the Embody, offer excellent performance over long periods of usage. Ultimately, I've realised that no chair is perfect, right? I've had to decide what's important for me personally and where I can accept a compromise. I love almost everything about the Aeron, especially those godlike armrests, but unfortunately I just couldn't make it work for my upper back. In contrast, the Embody armrests are a significant compromise in my opinion. In addition to being plasticky, they don't move back and forth, meaning that you can't quite get them in the right position and you can't really get close to your desk, at least not if you want the armrests at the same height as the desk. And as I mentioned, there's no headrest, but I'll wait for that Atlas headrest that hopefully will be launching next year. Finally, I used to think that I would one day find that perfect chair configuration, but I've realised during this process that frequent adjustment is actually a really good, positive thing. I read somewhere that your best position is the next one. In other words, you should be adjusting your posture frequently, and that concept really resonated with me. Now, if this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll probably look to provide an update video later in the year to let you guys know how I've got on. In the meantime, good luck in your quest for a comfy chair.